Welcome to Wyrd Systers Storytime. I'm Dr. Odd, and this is Sister Spike. We are the Wyrd Sisters. We are bone readers, bone casters, osteomancers. And it is an unusual skill set in this day and age.
Yep.
And so we attract unusual sorts.
We do.
And we had a very interesting encounter this last weekend that we wanted to share with all of you.
It was deeply strange
Deeply
and worth sharing.
strange,
Yeah.
yes. High strangeness.
Yeah.
High strangeness. So, we were at a show at a psychic vendor fair at New Moon Essence in Centralia. And a gentleman came and sat down in front of us and was a very unusual sort. He's from Appalachia and introduced himself as a root worker.
Yes. A root worker from Appalachia. He was fascinating, and he was, definitely neurodivergent, and very open about it, and also
mentioned that he was intersex.
Intersex,
but
yes.
goes by he. Although he's essentially non-binary.
Yeah. And we chatted for quite a while. It wasn't a real busy fair. So we had plenty of time to chat, and he sat down, and we had a really interesting chat about Christo-paganism.
Yes.
Which he had, he was a Christo-pagan.
And he had experienced a lot of prejudice, not just within the Christian environment, but also within the pagan environment.
Yes, there's a lot of pagans who seem to think that you cannot also be a Christian.
Yeah, that you can't be both, which is nonsense, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, that's for another time.
That's for another time. What was fascinating is that he started explaining that he had been having these visions where so first of all, he had a gift that had been bestowed upon him by someone else, and it was an ancestral gift of theirs, but somehow they had the power to bestow it on him and told him that he also had the power to use it for and bestow it on others, but he had no idea who it was for and how he was supposed to use it.
And he'd been having visions just over the last few days, been having visions saying that he was supposed to heal somebody of an energetic cancer.
Those were the exact words he used. An energetic cancer
involving the third eye.
Now, this immediately set up my little spidey senses.
Yeah.
Because my sister here has been through cancer. She's had breast cancer, skin cancer, and the chemotherapy that she went through affected deeply her ability to connect with the spirit world and to see unseen entities. She used to have this ability. When we were little, this happened all the time.
Oh, yes.
Where she would see things and have conversations with something that was not there to my eyes.
And while I learned not to have public conversations over the years, I continued to see things all the time. It was just a part of my life. But post-chemotherapy and post-radiation, it was no longer a part of my life. And I have spent the last 8 years trying everything we could think of.
Everything.
To get this back.
Yes. All the things.
Yeah.
And so when he said this, I said, okay, clearly you're here for a reason. This is why you're here, because this gal right here needs your assistance. So we decided to do an exchange. We don't always do this, but in this case, we made an exception. We decided that an energetic exchange was worth our time and
Absolutely. We're absolutely worth it. Plus, just the curiosity factor of this unique person with their unique gifts.
Yes. And they also were very clearly seeing someone who we could not see and having a conversation very casually. This was not theatrical. No. It was not performative. They were simply having a conversation with someone who was also in the room. I won't get into who that is because I don't have his permission to explain that side of things. Yeah. But they were very clearly there with us. So we did the reading. The reading was amazing. Again, won't get into the details of that because it's not relevant to the story. After that, the healing began. And let me tell you, this is one of the weirdest things. And we've had some
deeply strange
experiences, which we'll be telling you about on Wyrd Sister Storytime in the future. But we went to, first of all, he needed a door. a door that would open so that he could expel whatever it is that was causing the blockage.
Yes.
And it would not cling to anyone else in this environment, which I thought was very conscientious.
Extremely.
So we had to find a space because there were other vendors and people wandering around in the main spaces.
Yeah.
So we went all the way to the back where there's a bathroom over here, and then there was a door, a fire door. Yeah. And so we, like a fire exit, right? Mm-hmm. We opened the door, and they were standing over near the door, and I was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 feet behind.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's facing the door. Yeah. And I'm standing behind. He comes up and immediately puts his hand on her back on the side where the cancer was.
Yes, directly behind where it was.
Mm-hmm. And so was about to ask, what kind of cancer was it? But then corrected himself and said, oh, it was breast cancer. Okay. He at first had a hard time kind of getting it to respond. And we were all sort of standing there going, is anything going to happen here? Did we just get taken for a ride? You know, there's this weird sort of pause of like, is he actually...
Is this pretend?
Yeah, is this all pretend or is something going to happen here? And then all of a sudden, what it looked like from my perspective was like heat waves coming out from her, almost in a pattern of waves in wings, mm-hmm. right? Like she had wings attached here, and it was coming out. Mm-hmm. You know, like in the desert when you have that
the
wibbly effect, right? The mirage effect. That's what it looked like, and it was coming out of her back.
And I could see it too. Mm-hmm. I could see it from the front of me. I could see it coming out like this, and I was, and I'm standing there trying to hold still. He's standing behind me and talking to the energy.
Now, at this point, I realized, okay, I'm going to need to really ground. And so I put my feet flat and I just sort of called to the energy of the earth to help ground me in this situation because I was already feeling lightheaded.
Oh, yes. I got immediately very, very lightheaded.
And so it started to become a vertiginous thing, like vertigo, where I felt like I was falling, but I knew I wasn't falling. Very strange. Yeah. Then he starts, you can see he's looking at his arms like this, as if they are on fire. Yeah. And he goes to the door, stands outside the door, and is again talking to this person that we can't see, saying, get the angel, I need this off of me. Get the angel now. And so then we can see again the heat waves coming off of his arms, and now he's relaxing. Comes back in and says to we don't know who, is that it? Oh, no, okay. And comes up behind now her neck.
My neck and my throat.
And he says out loud, I thought this was so funny, what is the name of this chakra? Now, it's clearly the throat chakra, right? But it's funny when you're in that space of working with things that are not of the physical, you forget obvious words and things. So it was fun to see that.
Yeah.
This happens to us all the time.
We do it during readings all the time.
Exactly.
You'll be like, for obvious and common words.
Exactly. Like, the clicky thing with the buttons that you use to control the TV.
Yeah.
You know, that thing? Anyway, so he's standing behind her with his hands near her throat chakra. And this time, instead of the heat waves, it looks like a black mass that is sort of shiny and organic, almost like a squid-like animal. It has tentacles, tendrils, and the ends of the tendrils are hooked and shiny, like metal.
Now, I couldn't see any of this. This is all happening behind
her, but I'm seeing it.
But she's seeing it. And no one has mentioned hooks at this point. I can feel them unhooking on the inside with a popping sensation, like a kind of thing happening as all of these hooks disengage as it's being pulled out. So I'm hearing this the way you hear things with bone conduction on the inside. I'm hearing these little things disengage. And I can feel it being pulled out.
Now, I can't hear it, but I can see it. And I'm watching it come out and just going, my God, what is that thing? And meanwhile, as this is happening, it's going toward him and he's starting to have trouble breathing.
Yeah.
And his voice is becoming strained in this way that is difficult to describe. It wasn't just hoarseness. It sounded like his throat
it was being closed.
was being closed. Like this. Mm-hmm. And then he, once again, goes to the door and is saying, now, now, now. And then, again, I see the hooks come out and this thing goes, whew, and it was gone so fast. It was almost like a blur.
Well, and at that point, he was speaking directly to the angel he had requested.
Yes.
In the alley.
Which he called a Nephilim, specifically.
Specifically used the word Nephilim.
Yes. Now, we're, again, so dizzy, like, exhausted. I mean, so drained. All three of us are thirsty and hungry. That was the other thing. I had eaten that morning, I was fine up until then. And then all of a sudden
we went on empty tummies here.
Starving. And they had, thankfully, at this event, some food, and it was pulled pork and potatoes. Mm-hmm. And I ate 2 bowls. I mean, I just inhaled the stuff. I don't think I've ever eaten that fast in my life. I just
sucked it up.
And then we were both sort of sitting there like, what just happened? It was so strange.
And so much intensity in such a compact, brief amount of time. And it was all so, not casual, but workmanlike.
Yes, it had all happened so just like, oh, and here we are, and now we're done.
And now we're done.
And then the other thing was that you were experiencing an empty space. You told me about this. Yeah. That you said, it's strange. It's like there's this empty space.
Yeah.
Here
and in here.
And in here. And he then said, he hadn't heard that conversation, but he came back in and said, you're going to feel the empty space for a while. It's going to take a while for that to fill back in.
Heal back up. Yeah. It was... And he even talked about the little claw sockets and how it would take a while to stop feeling those.
Mm-hmm. And so it's very interesting whenever we meet the real deal. We know it. Yeah. We know it. We feel it. But it's not every day that you get to actually see them do their thing and get to experience
and get to actually experience it as well.
So that was really magical. His name is Marcus. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus.
We deeply appreciate you. And if you would like to come and get a reading from us,
yes,
and you have a special ability, we are very interested to know you.
Extremely.
So please get in touch with us. We'd also love to hear your stories. Has anything like this ever happened to you? Have you witnessed this? Have you experienced it?
Yeah.
Have you had a healing that just blew your mind in this way? We'd love to hear about it. Please share with us. All right. Thank you for joining us for Wyrd Sisters Storytime. We'll see you next time.